Hello, and welcome to Vector Day. On behalf of our Dean, we thank you for taking time to be with us today. Before we get into the presentation, we want to tell you just a little bit about ourselves. So, I am Robin Roberts, and I am an assistant professor in the Master of Science Leadership program. So, I teach mostly leadership, but I also teach human resources and managing multicultural workforce. So my passion, let me talk about my passion. My passion is neuro leadership, which is a teaching about a lot about the brain and how we make decisions and how we perceive the world. And so I help our students have perceptions about the world based on what their lenses see, and then seeking alternate lenses so they can broaden their experiences as well as their perceptions. That's all about me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. But my name is Rachel Vigness, and I'm also a assistant professor here in the College of Business. I teach in the areas of marketing, and my research interest happens to lie in service marketing, and specifically how consumers and customers kind of interact in that service environment. So we have quite a bit to cover today, Robin. If it's okay with you, I think we're going to jump right into our presentation today. First, let's actually look at a few things of what we're going to be covering and what to expect today. This is a kind of a best practice in business communication. So our time today is going to be broken into two parts. The first of which is the video that you are watching today. In fact, we're conducting this video in our Eagle Vision classroom for those that haven't seen the inside of the EV modality. Rob and I are going to share with you a few communication skills which we believe will help you succeed in the business world. And then we're actually going to share with you some examples of exercises that will help you build those skills. And don't worry, we promise not to mention research papers or APA, at least not in this video. You'll hear enough about those paper requirements certainly through your program. What we really want to do today is learn more about the unique ways that we in the College of Business are building those communication skills and, of course, how Vector can help. And then the second part of our time with you today is going to be in a Q&A session. So let's start, as I promised, with those promised communication skills. Robin, you worked in HR and also teach in that discipline. So how does communication stack up in terms of a desirable skill?
Well, research shows from employers that communication is number one in the skill sets that they're seeking from talent. Not just the individual being able to contribute to the language or the communication, but specifically how you work in teams together. We work in a vast global society and we're so interconnected. So, communication, whether it's verbal, nonverbal, whether it's written or presentation, we all are communicating something. And so, for employers, it is expressly interest for those who are exiting college to have these stellar communication skills, which we do get when we in our classrooms and when we go through the program.
Awesome. Well, certainly fitting then that we are talking about communication today. Um, we're going to actually focus our examples that we'll share with you in just a few minutes in 5 of the key business communication skills that you see here on the screen. And Robin mentioned some of those just a few minutes ago. Again, collaboration, public speaking, listening, nonverbal communication, and then also written communication as well. We really want you to be prepared for successful careers after graduation and building your skill sets as a student throughout your program is certainly going to help you get there. Robin, do you want to start by sharing an example from one of your classes?
Absolutely. You know, critical thinking is part of I would say, the foundation of communication. And critical thinking skills are woven throughout every class and program in the College of Business. And critical thinking allows the students to think past that surface anecdotal thinking to dive deep into examining how they think about things, how they are then having that communication transferred over to others and how they're relaying. So, for instance, they have to tell their story. They have to tell the story about their career future and how they want to create their ideal future self. So it's done through presentations, it's done in face to face, and it's also done by things like we have a TEDx video that they have to examine that talks about building your personal brand. And you're a marketing professional, so you know all about branding and what it's like to sell yourself. And they're going to have to do that. Students do that when they are vying for a position for externally, when they're external candidates, when they're internal candidates, but telling that story and telling that story well. When they are in teams, they're able to share their strengths and their weaknesses, and all of that is about branding who you are and all the attributes that you come with. So branding and telling that personal brand is so important to what we do as a student in terms of communicating.
Well, perfect. And you couldn't be more correct in terms of how important it is for students to develop that personal brand and be able to communicate that as they are sharing, perhaps in the interview, sharing ideas in the job force, what have you. Another very important skill that students can develop through the program in the College of Business is collaboration. And one of the unique ways in our college that we will use to develop this skill set is through a simulated environment. So our simulation exercises might happen both at the undergrad, at the graduate level, and they can help build those collaboration skills both within that platform or within the sim environment as students work together to make decisions, to come up with unique strategies, but then also external to that simulation. So for example, in one of my classes, students will collaborate on building a team contract, on the performance reports, maybe even create a commercial for their company in that and for that simulation organization. So collaboration is key, and developing that throughout the different opportunities and assignments that you might have in working in groups is certainly a skill set that you'll want to focus on.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And when you talk about collaboration, you're talking about having someone be where we are relaying information one to another. And so listening has to be something that is developed. There's a difference between hearing someone and listening to someone. And listening is what, especially in a leadership course, we're teaching about how listening is supportive. You can't really support someone if you're just hearing what they're saying, because hearing just imagines you just hear it with your ears. But listening means I am deeply interested in what the person is saying, and I'm fully engaged and fully present. And I like it because it becomes what, if you'll see on the screen, a very coaching mechanism. And coaching is this: when the students are relaying information, let's say to their professor, the professor, who we are all now certified faculty coaches, we ask them deep and poignant questions to make them think again critically and think through how they're thinking. So what's so cool about that is that they get the one-on-one with the professor, but also they do it with each other. So for example, in one of the classrooms, they have to create a vision statement and a personal statement. And then after they do that, they swap it and share it with each other. And so then they have that peer-to-peer coaching, and they have to not only read each other's assignment, but then ask questions and learn how to be supportive listeners so that they're giving alternate views and communicating something differently than what each other might have thought on their own. So it's a really cool development, a developmental technique when you think about that supportive listening, that deep listening, that fully present listening versus just hearing someone.
And speaking of listening, it's interesting in how and what we're listening to. You had
Mhm.
mentioned in an earlier presentation just how important nonverbal communication skills are. They certainly convey meaning and also provide a sense of personalization to the message as well. So as we're listening, it's not just that audio message or dialogue that might tell the true picture or tell the true message. The nonverbal component is important as well. And some students might be surprised to know that in some of our online discussions, we are now giving students that capability to have that dialogue beyond just the text content. Many students might be familiar with the exchanges that happen in the discussion boards being text-based. With audio video, we're now able to incorporate other personal cues such as eye contact, tone of voice, posture even, even the backgrounds, which you can see here are much different than what the student above us is experiencing. This is actually a former student of mine, and while he was working on his video discussion, he was actually deployed overseas. So nonverbal skills so critical in the business environment when we are trying to again convey that message and really get our point across. And again, another point of encouragement that we really think this is an opportunity for you as a student to hone and develop those talents as you go through the program. Robin, you want to take the last one?
Absolutely. With it being an online program, we know that we have to do a lot of writing. So, like you said, Rachel, the discussion forums, any of the communication by email, or we know that we have to do a lot of writing. But what I like about the online portion is that you can be very open to how you do that. And so, like for this instance, you will see on this particular screen or this slide that on one of the programs, I mean, on one of the classes, the student actually gets to do a service learning project. And in the service learning project, they actually select a company or organization where they want to go do 8 hours of volunteer service. And what they're learning is they're examining the types of formal and informal leadership that happens, and then they have to write about it. But it's cool because they're not only writing about it as a research paper, which we said we weren't going to mention, but they're not even writing about a research, they're not doing it just in a research form, but they also get to blog about it. So blogging is a form of public communication where you're telling a story, but it's to like the open public, although it's only the student and the teacher that sees it. But that blogging allows you to share what you are examining and how you are examining it through just, I mean, like really creative storytelling. So I like that form of communication because it gets you out of just the assignment and out of the research. It gets you into being able to be your genuine authentic self as you are communicating. So yeah, I like it. That written communication is very
Awesome. Yes, and you are right. Students will see different assessments, writing in so many of those different ways. Now, we touched on a lot of different communication assignments and activities, some that might be somewhat unique to some of our classes. But in what ways can you think, Robin, might Vector be used from a student perspective to help them in these kind of assignments?
well, like you said, we gave it from our perspective on the classes that we teach, but in any of the classes
Mhm.
that the student would take in the College of Business, there's this presentation part, reflection block that makes you be, very introspective, helps your self awareness. Discussion forums, I actually think of those like think tanks where you can share what you know about things, especially from a global perspective. The simulations that you mentioned, and then of course in the coaching. And where I believe Vector can really be helpful is we have the faculty, again, a lot of them are those certified coaches who give, a lot of support to the students. But if there's any other resourcing or even something the faculty may need, that is where Vector can actually come.
Absolutely. It's a great resource for students to reach out if they have any questions. And not only that, but then also if you just want a second set of eyes, thank you for your time in watching this video presentation today. We're actually going to carry this conversation over into a live session. Unfortunately, Robin, you won't be able to join us. We're very sad about that. But certainly, again, thank you to everyone who has taken the time to spend with us today. And we'll now continue into the Q&A session.
Yes, thank you all.